Hi everyone, Lisa from Spellbound Miniatures here, and this is just some quick tips and tricks on how I achieve some of the finishes in our Shaker Kitchen series. If you did use the Cricut to label your pieces, you'll want to paint out the ink first so that it doesn't show through any subsequent paint layers. If you can use a pencil in an adapter in your Cricut, then you could always just use an eraser to rub those out. I then use a spray primer. When it's dry, I sand it, and then I use a coat of regular paint spray. You could use an enamel spray, but this time I used a matte one because I was going to resin it afterwards. So this is the sink. I've just done one spray coat so far. This is the side. You won't see this side anyway, but I just thought I'd show you. This is it without any resin, and this is it with just one layer of UV resin. And then if you imagine when I spray paint this then with the white enamel, it will have a very realistic bevel to it. I've yet to do the tops and the inside, but I just thought I'd show you the difference between non-UV resin and with some UV resin. You could use regular resin, but if I was mixing up two parts, whereas I just find it easier to squeeze this out of the bottle, you can set it in the sunshine, and I do have a UV lamp as well. In the end, I liked the look of the resin over the base spray paint so much, I continued to resin the rest of it and didn't bother with the enamel spray at all. On screen now, the arrow is pointing at the sink back stop piece, which, as you can see, holds the sink forward to the front of the unit and means there's some worktop space behind for which you can mount your taps on. The tap is a micro brush cut in half. I used a heat gun for like an embossing tool and heated up the micro brush at the top end and bent it round a paintbrush handle to create the curved top of the tap. I then used some head pins and some beads that I had that looked like cogs that were very good for creating a farmhouse kitchen style handle, and glued them with super glue. If you look closely at the photo, you'll see I added a little white bead behind the tap handle part. That made them look a little bit more realistic and less spindly, and then I bent them in a gentle angle and again super glued them onto the micro brush tap. I cut a piece of Cricut chipboard freehand, just a little rectangle and a slot in the middle to push the tap spout and handles into, and glued them in there. This also makes it easier then to glue the whole tap assembly down onto the worktop. I sprayed them just a nice sort of semi-gloss black with spray paint, and then you can see here the worktop. I joined the sink worktop and the base unit worktop together in design space and cut them as one piece. This is just Cricut chipboard, and I used my X-Acto knife and cut score lines in the top to resemble planks. I then took a very thin file and went along the grooves to give them a bit more definition. I then stained the whole thing with English oak coloured wood dye and gave it a coat of matte varnish. If you look closely at the plug hole in the sink, you'll see it's actually a press stud fastener. I'll put a photo on screen now. I just got mine from Amazon. I then realised I didn't have enough door handles, so I glued one of each style that I did have left into a small pot lid. I mixed up some 2-part moulding putty and pushed it down over the handles. Once it had set, which doesn't take very long, I removed the mould and then filled the cavity with UV resin and set that in under my lamp. It literally only takes a couple of minutes to set up. You turn them out, I gave them another blast of UV, and then I sprayed them black and used a bronze gel acrylic to give them a patina. The great thing about this was I could make them any colour I wanted and as many as I wanted without having to wait for them to arrive in the post. Of course, you can make freestanding kitchen islands with this SVG bundle, and you could make a farmhouse kitchen sideboard too. I think these shaker kitchen units are the perfect complement to the Argo SVG that we've also done. And of course, they all fit perfectly in our Christmas cabin. Thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you soon.